Welcome to Pucked Up Hockey Moms, where the arenas are freezing, the group chats are unhinged, and the parenting, well, let's just say we're doing our best. I'm Amanda, hockey mom, chaos wrangler, and proud captain of the Bad Mom Squad.
And I'm Brittany, mom of three, two who play hockey, expert at juggling carpools, cold coffee, and the occasional emotional breakdown in the arena parking lot.
We're here to spill the tea on what it really means to raise hockey kids, from politics in the stands to mental health, bad calls, and everything in between. No filters, no fluff, just the truth. With a side of sarcasm.
And yeah, we're laughing through the madness, because if we didn't, we'd be crying into a damp mitt left in the trunk since last season.
So if you've ever screamed, "Move your feet," while secretly Googling the rules mid-game, you're our people.
This is Pucked Up Hockey Moms.
Let's get into it. Welcome back to Pucked Up Hockey Moms. I'm your host, Amanda, and this week we have with us Thomas Gobeil, a previous junior hockey player throughout Canada with all the initials in the different leagues that he's going to explain for us. So welcome, Thomas.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for joining us. I'm glad we connected on the socials.
Yeah.
For those of you that have seen it before, he made a sweet post about appreciating your mom in hockey. So obviously I connected with that. I'm hoping you can help break us down on the path to juniors and hockey and whatnot. But if you can give us a quick rundown on your hockey journey first for the listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm from Quebec, a small town outside of Montreal. And so I played all of my minor hockey there. And I always played in the higher teams of each level growing up. And by the time I was 14, I made the midget AAA team. And that was because in Hockey Quebec, there was a change in the structures of the ages of the players. So I was in my third year of high school playing with fourth and fifth years.
Crazy.
And yeah. And then after that season, I was drafted in the QMJHL, the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, which is part of the Canadian Hockey League. So you guys have the WHL, and there's also the Ontario Hockey League.
Okay.
And yeah, from there I played 3 seasons. I didn't finish the third season. That's when I got injured, and maybe we can get into that a bit later.
Yeah.
But and then after that, I decided, instead of staying in the QMJHL, I decided to go to the BCHL. So I came down to the island and played my last junior year there. Really with the intent of having a new experience in a competitive environment of hockey. I knew it wasn't as competitive as, major junior, but I knew it was a good league. So I played there as a 20-year-old. And after that season, I signed in the East Coast Hockey League. And that's where I went and I played 4 games, I think.
Yeah.
And after 4 games, I had enough. I had enough. I mean, the process of, thinking about doing something else started after my injury, my third year in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League.
Mm-hmm.
And so by the time I was playing professionally, it's just like the environment and, the experience just was nothing like I had dreamed of when I was a player. So I decided to stop. And then I considered going to Europe, but I felt it would be to my advantage to start transitioning out of hockey at an earlier age, in my early 20s, rather than, playing another 10 years and then trying to figure out who I am outside of the sport.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my hockey journey.
Yeah, I guess that's something, like, as a hockey mom, I'm always like, well, at what point do my kids transition out of hockey and into a career if they're doing things so competitively? What did that look like for you then once you stopped?
Oh, it sucked. It sucked so bad because, if you want to play the elite levels of hockey, your life has to be dedicated to it. So and from an early age, like, it's not like you can decide at 18, okay, I'm going to do this seriously. It's too late. Like, I knew at the age of 8, I wanted to do that.
Yeah.
I wanted to play hockey professionally. Well, I wanted to play in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
Because playing professionally is nothing like, it's not the same experience as playing in the NHL. It's a different world.
Yeah.
But so when I stopped playing, like I said, when I was 19, my third year in the QMJHL, I got a puck in the face during a practice. And just to put you in context, the reason I got the puck to the face was because our coach, who was mad after a series of losses, had us do this drill where we would pass the puck to the defenseman at the blue line, and us, the forwards, had to go and like dive and try to block the shot.
Oh my God.
And that's how I got a puck in the face. I got a double fractured jaw. And so I was away from the game for like 8 weeks, but I was at home because I played in Chicoutimi at the time, which was like 5 hours away from where I lived.
Yeah.
So I came back home for my recovery, and the recovery was a silence retreat. Couldn't speak. They wanted to, wire me shut so that the jaw would heal, but I didn't want that. I was just like, I'm claustrophobic. Like I can't have my jaw like wired shut.
Yeah. That's scary.
So the surgeon agreed not to do it and said, okay, well, you can't move. So I was really like in silence for a good 4 to 5 weeks at least.
Wow.
And that's when things started changing for me. And that's when I started realizing, there's life outside of hockey. I didn't know. I thought I was the most important thing in the universe, a hockey player. And then that's when reality started setting in, when all of the noise started fading out and I started really being in tune with my inner dialogue. And so from that moment on, I was 19, and that season, just before that summer, before I got injured, I was invited to the Anaheim Ducks' camp. Wow. I really felt like I was getting close.
Yeah.
Like I had a shot.
Yeah.
And then this happened, the injury. And so anyways, all this to say that the process started after the injury. But I played for another 2 years because it was just too hard to quit on my dream, which I had worked so hard for. And when I finally, accepted the fact that I didn't want to do that anymore, and even though I did not know what I wanted to do, I was ready to start that adventure, and an adventure it was. And it sucked. And, going from being a professional hockey player to nobody, essentially.
Yeah. Devastating, I'm sure.
Yeah, and realizing that, okay, I had, worked and invested so much energy, time, and effort into that hockey avatar. Like, what does that give me now outside of it? It was really heart crushing to realize, like, I didn't develop people skills in hockey. Like, I didn't really develop, like, of course, like, to be an elite athlete, you have to have a certain work ethic and you have to be driven, and all of that is great, but I mean, if you have a job, you can't just express your emotions by dropping the gloves and hitting your colleagues. Like, that doesn't work. You
might want to.
You might want to, but you can't do it. No. Whereas in hockey, it's praised if you do that. Yeah. Like you're an added value. Like, you're willing to fight. So it was a few years of, having questions, finding answers, and adapting, coming back to reality, I guess.
Yeah, that takes a huge mental toll, I'm sure, just trying to adjust or make that mind shift of going from just competitive sports to what now. Yeah. And then you've started a holistic athlete development program. How did you get into that?
Yeah, so I had no idea what I wanted to do really, but I was so impacted by the injury and the silence retreat, and was so interested in learning more about my emotions and my inner dialogue. And I just wanted to know how emotions and thoughts and everything that was going on inside that I hadn't really connected with before. I just wondered, how did that impact my performance then? Maybe that's played a role. So I studied with a bunch of different, doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists, like any professional studies I could do with them. Any course that they would offer, I would take it.
That's great.
That's almost 10 years ago. And so it's crazy to realize how the culture and the awareness has changed in sports since then, because when I started, studying and sharing about what I was learning, it was like emotional intelligence was like an alien word. Like people were like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. They just stared at you like, what are you even saying?
Yeah. So it was my own journey into my own personal development and healing process that I just understood a bunch of things about the hockey business, the hockey industry, the relationships with the coach, how the relationships with my parents, how all of that played a role in how I was feeling on the ice, my performance. And so I kept studying and I digested all of that, all of my experience, plus, learning the science of emotional intelligence as well. And just been digesting all of that for the past 10 years. And now that's what I do. I've started working with athletes, almost 7 years ago, just sharing with them that they could start learning how to breathe, how to meditate, to enhance their emotional intelligence, which is essentially what people call like performance or mental preparation. But I think it's important that the athlete understands what emotions he feels, to be able to discern them, but also discern them in his teammates and the coach. And that's what emotional intelligence is you recognize all of those emotions in yourself. First of all, you have to be able to feel them, not tuck them away, not ignore them or avoid them.
Yeah.
Then you want to discern, like, okay, what is this type of emotion that I'm feeling right now? What's the information associated with that? What is my body trying to tell me? And so anger will teach us about our boundaries, and, sadness will teach us about what we're holding on to, et cetera, et cetera. Really wanting to understand what didn't work for me as a player is what guided me naturally to becoming an emotional intelligence coach for athletes.
I think that's so important, because for so long people have been taught to ignore that and just push through the pain or push through other things. And if you can really harness your emotion and use it as a tool and not a hindrance, people can go so much further, right? And it's been the last couple years or last decade or so where people have become more aware of it. So I think you're kind of like right in the prime of learning that as well. And it's funny that when you were talking about social skills and not having them, academies weren't really anything like they are now when you grew up, right? Like there wasn't like a school sport hybrid situation that you could go to, right? It was either sports or school, but you didn't really have both, did you?
Well, I didn't. No, in high school we had what we call sport études, which is a mix of both.
Okay.
But, I don't remember school teaching me about social and people skills either. I remember it was about remembering a whole bunch of information and being able to put it back there on the paper when it was important. And I'm not saying school's not important. I'm just saying there's certain skills, that you have to develop, that I feel like the sports environment could be able to, teach players that even school doesn't.
Yeah.
If like teachers won't, you won't learn about your emotions in school unless you decide to pursue those studies, in college, and you make it a degree or whatever. But if you could be learning how to manage your emotions and, use the relationship with your coach as an opportunity to practice that. And there's just so much opportunities in the context of sports that I feel we're not capitalizing on, because the focus is just so much on building the machine, like the hockey player avatar, and not really taking care of the person that's under there.
Yeah. And I would say I've noticed, because my children do go to academy style schools for sports now, and I will say that I've noticed they're taking more of a holistic approach, because my kids can communicate with adults right now, whereas in the public school system, because they're so overloaded and there's so many kids in a class and stuff, that wasn't really the primary goal, right? You go learn your subject, you spit it back out and move on. Whereas they make eye contact with adults, they talk about what they need, and it's really, they learn to speak to their coach for what they want to work on, rather than the parents doing it, because it's kind of frowned upon for the parents to get involved with the coaches in the academy situation. So at a younger age, children are having to speak up for themselves, whether it's their parents telling them, hey, if you want to play on the power play or penalty kill, you need to talk to your coach because I can't do it for you. This is not a setting where I can do it, right? So I would say I've found that both my children, like they're nearly 14 and 17, can now have full conversations with adults and not just on their phone, which is the social skills I'd say we're missing on a lot of different aspects. And they do take time out for mental health. Like they talk about mental health a lot more than it used to be. I think there's still a lot further to go. Like I think it needs to be incorporated into like a minor hockey situation as well, and take time out for that, like for rest and education. But it seems to be moving in the right path, I'd say.
I believe so. And that sounds like a good situation for them.
Yeah. Like I feel like people are more open to it now than they used to be, right? Like it's not just.
Yeah. 100%. And I think even the teams and the coaches are more aware. They're not necessarily changing their ways that much, but I think everyone is more aware.
Yeah.
You know, the person has to be healthy. There's many aspects to health. It's not just the physical side of it. I think that's
Yeah.
more and more accepted.
Yeah, like it's more acceptable to talk about now. It's not that people want to
Also,
deal with it, it's just more acceptable to talk about it.
agreed.
Can you break down a little bit about the draft situation? Like you said you were drafted at 15 into the, because that part, like, I mean, my kid was past it, like was still before I kind of understood what it was. We're like, oh, you could get drafted at 15? What is that? So I don't understand how that whole process works.
Essentially, will the Canadian Hockey League, well, the three leagues will hold a draft.
Yeah.
In which they will, when they draft you, it creates a certain agreement within their league. Meaning, I was drafted by Baie-Comeau, which was like 7 or 8 hours away from my house. But there were teams that were like an hour away. Because they drafted me, that prevented me from offering my services as a player to like the team that was like 45 minutes away from my house.
Okay.
Which would have almost allowed me to stay with my parents. So they do that for their own reasons, you know, to create a certain competitive environment within, you know, their league. But the way it works is, they just draft you. If they see you play and they like you and they would like you to come to their camp and try to make out their, you know, crack their lineup, they'll draft you. And then you'll have the choice whether you want to go or not. And then once you go and you play so in my time, if you stayed more than like 72 hours in a training camp for the QMJHL, you lost a year of eligibility in the NCAA.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was different back then. Today, it's just recently, this year, it's different. Now QMJHL players, OHL players, and WHL players can go in the NCAA, which is amazing. I think it's about time.
Yeah. Really open.
Well, it's because also the way the business of the major junior leagues was designed back then, it really was a business and we were employees and we were under contracts. And the NCAA was a students league, you know, so they didn't allow professionals in their league. And since 2018 and since the class action, which I'm a plaintiff in Quebec, there's, you know, we represent players from 2011 to 2018 that performed in the three leagues. So there's 5,000 members. And in 2018, the Canadian Hockey League lobbied the provincial governments and was successful in having the status of these players changed to student athletes. And they changed their contracts and they changed, you know, a bunch of words in the papers that players signed. And now after that, it was inevitable that, okay, so then what's the reason why players
can't play in the
can
NCAA?
Go and transfer to the NCAA? It doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah.
So I think they shot themselves in the foot in some type of way, but I think that's an amazing win for players. You know, like I said, when I was 19, you know, I had just come back from a camp in the NHL. So I was in the elite players of my team or the prospects, if you want to say. And if I could have gone to, you know, the NCAA, I probably would have.
Yeah.
Or at least knowing that you have the option relieves some pressure. And depending on your situation, because I didn't get along with my coaches. I used to be I was a very sensitive kid and I was very, very passionate and driven. And it's not like I was arrogant, but I used to really speak my mind when I thought things didn't make sense, and I would ask questions, and I wasn't liked for that. I learned a few years after I stopped playing. I went to have lunch with one of my former coaches, and he told me that he was telling NHL scouts that it was hard to coach me. He told me he thinks is one of the reasons why I didn't get drafted, because I was listed in the 4th round, I think, for the NHL draft. So this is how all of that works. Essentially, they'll draft anyone they want. They can draft European players, American players. They can't, you know, have too many American players per team. Same thing with the Euros. I think it's limited, capped at like two players per team. I'm not so sure, but it's something like that.
Yeah.
So that's how the Canadian Hockey League's draft works.
Yeah. And so if you didn't sign with them, what would have happened? Like if you declined?
Then you move on. You go play for whoever you want to play. It's just that in Quebec specifically, you know, I think in Canada specifically, the major junior hockey is considered like the best league for, you know, youth players before the NHL. Whereas in the US, it's clearly your goal as a player is to play in a nice college, big college, go to school and get a diploma and then play in the NHL, you know?
Yeah.
And that's one thing I realized when I was invited to the Ducks camp. I got there, I was 18, and all of the boys that were there were like 24, 25. They had like big beards and like hairy chests, and I was like, I was 18. They were 6, 7 years older than I was, and
Yeah.
all these guys were coming out of college.
Yeah.
You know, whereas when you couldn't go to NCAA because you lost your eligibility, but you could only play major junior until you were 20. So then what? It means at 20, you had to be good enough to crack a professional lineup if you want to keep, climbing the ladder. And then if you haven't signed an NHL contract or you don't play in the American Hockey League, you get into the East Coast League. And good luck trying to move up from there. Some people do it, but, it's a grind.
Yeah.
It's a big grind. So unfortunately, I didn't understand it until it was too late. But looking back at it today, it was like, well, doesn't it make more sense to aim at being in college at 20?
Yeah.
And then being in the NHL or playing professionally at 25 rather than trying to play professionally at 20.
Yeah.
Those are so important developmental years. Like, yeah. So that's another thing that I learned. Luckily for everyone today, you can play major junior and then go to college. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
In the US.
The options are great, because how at 15 do you decide whether you don't want to go to college or not back then, right? Like,
I can share with you how it happened for me.
Okay.
So I was 14 actually when I played midget AAA, and that's like when you have to start thinking, because if you play midget AAA, you're kind of playing at the highest level at your age. So then you have options. So then my father knew that like we could look at prep schools, and he had like prep schools come and see me play, and I had the different offers. And then there was also the QMJHL draft at the end of the season. So it's like, okay, do you take the route of going to the US, play prep school and try to get committed to a college, or do you play major junior? And when the head coach of my midget AAA team saw that and heard that, the prep schools were coming to talk to him about me because I was open to it, he met with me alone and he asked me this very simple question. He said, Tom, do you want to study or do you want to play in the NHL? I said, I want to play in the NHL. And he said, well, the route is, to play major junior hockey then. And I think at the time he was kind of projecting me, thinking that I had a chance by the time I was 20. But he kind of told me that if I wanted to play in the NHL, this is the route that I had to take. And I'm 14 at the time. So I'm like, okay, that's what I'll do then.
Yeah.
Then years later, here's what I learned. The Quebec Major Junior Hockey League gives $15,000 per player drafted to the team they draft from. And so if you're the head coach of a midget AAA team, how do you build your credibility as a head coach? You are able to get players drafted, which means you develop them and you get money into the program.
Yeah.
So for that coach, he knew I was going to get drafted, and he knew that money was going to come in, and that's good for him and that's good for the program. So I'm not saying he said it only for that. I'm saying it surely had an incentive. And like I said, looking at it today, it doesn't make any sense to me to say that to a 14-year-old kid. First of all, you shouldn't make that decision for him.
Yeah.
You should, as an adult, know what type of influence you can have over a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
And also, it's just not true. Because at 20, I would have went to college, and then I would have went to school, kept developing as a player, physically, emotionally, mentally. And then by the time I was in my mid-20s, I would have played pro.
Yeah.
I played pro at 20. I could have played at 25. And so many of my friends who weren't good enough to play midget AAA, weren't good enough to play major junior hockey at 15 or 16, they play professionally today. I don't anymore.
Yeah.
So there's so many different routes. Many different routes. But yeah, how do you make the choice at 14 or 15 which route to take is you get informed and you reach out to people who, have walked that path and who can give you advices about it. And it's, it has to be a decision based on your tailored situation, like whatever you want to do.
Yeah. And that's the thing is I think people just get so excited, like, oh, we've been drafted, we should do this, right? And not knowing what your full options are. It's nice to know that you can still do the NCAA option from the junior, because that does change everything, right? So
of course,
I think
it's going to make it, I think it's going to make it a younger league, and people are just, making it, being drafted and making it to major junior will only mean that you are almost guaranteed to play NCAA if you want.
Yeah, which is,
I think that's
having an education and playing your sport is great, because yeah, you can get injured at any time, but being able to have a degree to fall back on is even better.
Of course, but not only that, it's just like when I think about the experience that I missed, going to college, playing hockey in college for the college's team with all the boys. And it's also, you don't know it at the time, but even at 25, you're still a kid. But you're even more a kid at 20. And emotionally and mentally and physically, like, you're so much stronger in all these aspects just because you're older. Even though, you train and you do all these things to become stronger, but naturally you will be bigger, stronger, taller. So
I always think it's so hard to assess skills at 15 and be like, well, are they going to be the same when they're 20, 21, 22? Are they going to get taller? It's so hard to look at that.
It's insignificant to try to, predict the probabilities or the potential of a player at 15. Makes no sense.
Yeah.
There's no use to it. The most important thing to look at is, does he love the game enough so that in 5 years he'll still be loving it the same?
Yeah.
That's what is like the most important factor, is, does he love to be in a competitive environment with all the types of coaches that there's out there, and the pressure and the stress, and how is he able to navigate all of that? And you want, as much as possible as a parent, to be able to support or to offer an approach that really relieves the stress and the pressure. So hockey has to be fun. And even if the kid takes it very seriously and he's invested in it and he has dreams and goals, it still has to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or else there's no point.
There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of pressure from everything, right? So making sure it's still fun. Otherwise, what's the point? Otherwise you burn out at 20.
No, and it's going to get hard no matter what path you take. Like, you're going to have hard times, and you're going to have to be able to, enjoy it even when it's hard. It's not easy to enjoy being on the bench and not being put on the power play. And watching all your teammates be out there and having success. But somehow, depending on the way you perceive your process, if you look at it as a process and not a finality, not a chase for results, if hockey, like sitting on that bench during that game, is part of the process to develop yourself as a person also, because there's so many things that can teach you, then it's not as frustrating. Then it doesn't freeze you when you get back out there. So there's many ways to really make hockey a, I want to say, I don't know how to say this in English, a tremplin, like a stepping stone, a launch pad. To make it that your hockey experience really is useful when you're no longer playing.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, you have to enjoy the journey while you're doing it so you can get the most out of it later in life. Yeah, I
never thought, if you would have asked anyone around me in my family, my friends, when I decided to quit, it didn't make any sense for anyone, but I was just I was done.
Yeah.
I just didn't have fun for the last few seasons, and I wouldn't admit it to myself. I wouldn't say that I didn't have fun. I didn't want to know that I didn't have fun, but the pressure just became too big, too heavy to support, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. Couldn't, actually.
Yeah.
Going back to transitioning out of hockey, I didn't go to a doctor or anything like that, but knowing what I know today, people would call it a depression. And from an holistic point of view, what is being depressed is you need deep rest. You need to rest from what you've been trying to be for so long, which is, I was trying to be what coaches wanted me to be, what the team wanted me to be, and it's trying to figure that out and fit into that mold became too stressful and too unhealthy, until all of my emotional, my emotional and mental body were just in conflict.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't be myself. I couldn't be authentic. I didn't know how to respect my sensitivity as a human being in that environment where you need to numb everything, pain, ideas, emotions, whatever it is, like numb it. It's time to push, squeeze the juice, drive. Pain is a state of mind. Like, it makes no sense. So there's ways to keep our humanness and take care of our sensitivity. Kids are very sensitive these days, I find. I think that's a good thing. I think they're more aware. They have, they're more compassionate, I think. And that is useful in the hockey environment if you know how to harness it.
Yeah. What advice would you give parents now going through that whole process and knowing all the pressures and stuff? What advice would you give them to help aid their players along, would you say?
I'm going to commit to a statement, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to say, if you truly want to help your athlete, you will only be able to help your athlete to the point where you are invested in your own personal development as an adult. So if you want, most parents, the most common problematic that their athletes have is confidence. Most kids, sometimes they play a great game, everything works, or they play super well during a practice, and then during games, their parents can't recognize them. Yeah. So what is that? Well, that's doubt. That's a lack of confidence. So any parent, if we take that example, any parent that would help boost or support the confidence level of their athletes, well, guess what? You can't do that unless you're cultivating your own self-confidence and you understand what affects your confidence, what nourishes it. And so parents have to stop trying to coach their children. You can't. Unless you have been on your own healing or self-development journey for a long time before you had kids, and then you had kids, and you're in a very healthy, clear space where you're not projecting your emotions, you're not projecting your emotional baggage, and then you can, reflect advices to them. It's not the case, man. Parents are busy. Like, they got shit to do. So this is what I wanted to say is, the parents have to be interested in educating themselves as to how can I myself be more emotionally intelligent around my kid? How can I speak in a way that is more emotionally intelligent? Parents do not realize when you say something that's negative about the coach, about a player's mom, or any gossip, what you're teaching your kid is to do exactly that. That does not empower them. When a kid hears that his coach is an idiot from his father, who is his anchor in life, he wants his father to love him unconditionally. He wants his approval. We all want that as kids. Then you're teaching your kid that they're a victim of an idiot who has an influence on their future. So what do you think that kid does? First of all, it affects him deeply emotionally, and it's not good for his confidence. But then it teaches him resentment and to not respect the coach. Even if he doesn't say it in his face, hopefully, internally, he won't respect him. So there you go. You've started a snowball effect where without knowing it, without intentionally wanting to create that, you've created the complete opposite of what you want in your child. I think it's really, I've made it a very long statement, but I think it's
good.
It's about parents being willing to learn new habits, unlearn lots of habits, and be on their own personal development journey. Like that's your kids will mimic how you feel. We don't remember much of what our parents were telling us when we were younger. We subconsciously hold on to how we were feeling around them. And as kids, we were sponges. So we were feeling how they were feeling. And we just inherit that. So you want to help your athlete? Get a coach. You, the parent, get a coach. Learn to enhance your own inner dialogue. Learn to manage your own stress in a more helpful way. Learn to boost your own confidence. Be yourself on a personal development path. I swear, there's nothing that'll be more impactful to your athlete, because I can spend an hour per week with your child, coaching him, and over a few weeks, you'll have great results. It'll be amazing. But it's nothing compared to like hanging out around you, who is invested in your own journey. Like, the most influential people around the athlete are the parents and the immediate family. So what needs to change and what needs to be better is, the family space.
Yeah. I will say
that's where it all happens.
I will say, since starting the podcast and talking and having open conversations with other parents on the journey, I've definitely become a lot more self-aware about my own behavior and other behaviors. And yeah, I've definitely had some bad habits. I can totally admit that, right? And you're like, wow, I did not realize how much that can affect your own child. So one, I feel a little bit guilty, but two, it just makes me want to try that much harder to do the opposite and make it a more fun environment. And
that's human.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
just human. I coached a team 3 years ago, and I found myself being a little bit stiff with these players, digging like, that kind of drive that I had as a player. I kind of, found myself digging from that place when I was trying to like teach them something. So I had to get myself back into, wait, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? There's nothing that's too serious or important here. Your emotions do not have to be implicated in your teaching. They don't.
Yeah.
So I feel what you're saying. And listen, I have a lot of compassion for the parents because I don't have kids yet, but I know that you put a lot of energy, a lot of time, and a lot of money into it. So when I'm asking you not to get emotionally involved, it's almost impossible. But it is possible. But listen, and to be quite frank, if my kids don't play hockey, great. if I don't have to spend my weekends freezing my ass off in rinks, I'd rather like be outside and do something else. If they do, great. If they want to play hockey, great. Right.
I'm kidding.
But yeah, so it's tough. Like you said, it doesn't take much. Just having these conversations is a major way to enhance your own self-awareness. Absolutely.
Yeah, like being willing to be open and aware, and willing to learn and to listen.
Yeah.
I think listening to our kids and is the biggest part, because we're always bouncing around from thing to thing, rank to rank, task to task. And moms will always be like, oh, you had a great game. I love you. You did so great. And dads will be like, well, you didn't get enough PP minutes or PK, and they're all analyzing, and that's usually the way it is. But that's just like the conversations that happen, and whether or not it's the dads bonding and that's the way they think they're supposed to do it. It's hard to change those patterns, right? So listening to what your needs, I think, too.
Yeah, and being also able to, really be present during the game and after the game with your kid to really feel how they're feeling about their game, because that's the worst thing moms can do. It's just like shower them with compliments when they had a shitty game. Like that's not helpful either. Like that doesn't help him trying to trust you when it comes to his hockey journey. So I would never advise to do that. Just shower them with compliments. Just tell them they're great. Like, no, that's not it. You have to tune into the game, understand the game, understand where he's at, connect with the player while he's playing. And you'll understand that you'll feel his struggle. You'll feel what's blocked, and you'll be able to be in that space with him. You don't have to have the solutions for him, but he needs to feel understood. So that's another way to be, just being, not having the solution, but being in that sensory field with them about the game, when your kid feels he didn't have a good game.
Oh yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. Don't try to tell him he did have a good game, or it's okay, or like distract him with compliments or positive things. Like he doesn't want none of that right now. He wants to digest the game. So you can be in that space with them and just holding space, and that'll be more helpful, and that'll build a trust between the mother and the player also.
Letting them vent almost, right?
But also being there with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know how helpful, how amazing it would be if like if my mother, when I got out of the ring and I felt some type of way about the game and I was feeling off, how amazing it would have felt if she would have been able to be like, hey, I know you don't feel good about your game right now. And, maybe we can sit down later and talk about why, but it's only game. And now start digesting, do what you got to do to process that game and learn from it. And we'll move on very soon. What? You didn't ask me to tuck it away. You didn't come with a solution I didn't ask for. There's no rush. You didn't give me a time limit. You didn't pressure me into anything. You just made it okay to feel the way I was feeling after the game. And you also made it positive that like there's some stuff to learn from there. Yeah. From that game. And we can talk about it together later. And you can tell me what you thought, how you think your game could have been better. Okay, now let's apply that. Just being in the process with them, not trying to bring the solutions, just guarding the process. Yeah. because it is a process and it is an emotional game.
It is, very much so. Now, did you have to bill it a lot then if you were like 7 hours from home?
Yeah.
How
So
did
I
that
played for
affect
three.
you? Do you think?
Of course, it's like I was lucky because I liked almost all of my billets.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite one was in Duncan on Vancouver Island, actually. And I think out west the people were amazing. But yeah, it is part of, it's destabilizing. You're not at home. For a teenager, being home is being in a safe space, right? So leave that safe space to try to create another one in another family is also part of why you need to have people skills and social skills and be highly emotional and emotionally intelligent so that you can adapt quicker and feel safe in that space. So there's some players that it takes more time than others. Some players are never comfortable in their billet.
Yeah.
Some people take in hockey players when they really shouldn't also. But that's another thing. But yeah, I mean, it's just part of what you need to be comfortable with, and then you have to go to the rink and get screamed at and be okay with that and do your job.
Was your mom a loud cheer or a quiet cheer or?
Very quiet.
Really? Okay.
Very quiet. Yeah.
I'm not the quiet cheer.
Good. That's okay.
But I do scream for every child if I can. Like, I like knowing their
That's
name.
good.
I like knowing their names, and I'll cheer really, really loud for all of them. But now that my son plays in the CSSHL, my husband told me I'm not allowed to yell their names. So I don't know why.
Oh, so he decided that.
Yeah, he told me it's a thing, and I'm not allowed to do it. So I don't know why. You can tell me if it's true or not.
That makes me want to be there when you tempt it, when you try it.
Right. So like sometimes I'll use their nicknames or just their numbers, but not their names. And I'm like, why not their names? Why? I don't understand. You played baseball.
Right. Yeah. I mean, personal choices, personal opinions. I mean,
oh, that's fine. I make fun of my
sometimes it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is a good idea to just keep the peace. Keep the peace is a good idea also.
Yeah. I mean, he probably just doesn't want me to ruin my son's life with my cheering, so it's fine.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I know. It's hilarious. Yeah, I'd say the billet wise, it's interesting when you have a family that has never been involved in hockey that takes on a hockey child, because I think it's a completely whole new experience for them to just be thrown into the world with a teenage boy that has never been in the hockey world before. So that can be very challenging for players too, I think.
Yeah, but it's part of it. It's definitely part of it. So you have to be willing to do it if you want to give yourself a chance.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
No. Do you have any advice for players of certain habits they can start now to learn, like to help with their own confidence and their own habits of understanding their emotions? Yeah,
so every player will agree that when they scored a goal, they never thought about what they were going to do before scoring. And every time they think about what they're going to do, it doesn't work. So what does that say? It says confidence is equal to the quality of your focus. So the more concentrated you can become during the game, the less distractions get to you, even your own mind, your own thoughts and stress. And when you're very concentrated during the game, the concept of time kind of fades, right? And so it's so interesting when you look at, the video of a certain game after you played it, you were in the corner with the puck and you felt like you had so much time with it. And then you look at and then you make a play and maybe you make a bad play. But then you look at the video and you're like, fuck, I didn't have much time there. I understand now why I made a mistake. I was under pressure. Because the concept of time when you're really focused on something and there's no distraction it's something else.
Yeah.
I've experienced that myself, going 3 days in a dark room. And I'm just sharing this because the biggest lesson I got from that is like, okay, time doesn't work the way we think it works. It's really a concept. So yeah, my advice to kids is start being interested in learning how to enhance the quality of your attention, your focus, and your concentration. And the most amazing tool for that is learning how to breathe, learning how to meditate, and really implementing in your routine. You know, what will hockey players do? They'll get up, they'll eat a certain way before practice, they'll eat a certain way after practice, they'll stretch, they'll train, they'll do all of these things, these habits to help them, you know, develop as a hockey player. Well, you should implement in that a routine of relaxation, meditation, breathing, visualization. All these things are amazing tools to help you regulate that state, that flow state you want to get into before games. The more you can tap into that flow state and the more you can play from that state, the more intuitive and the more your talent will be expressed during the game. You do not want to be thinking during the game. And that's what, you know, that's what creates the difference between a practice and a game, or how or why players just seem so different from one game to the other is their state of being is different.
Yeah.
So the same way that players have superstitions where they do the same thing all over again, like Crosby is one of those who has like so many of them, it's almost like crazy. Well, why does he do that? It's a ritual. What is a ritual? It's doing something over and over with the same intention to access the same state.
Okay.
So there's many things we can do, but it's like parents and players need to understand, if you want to get stronger physically and you get under the bar and you bench press 10 reps, you're not stronger now. You're stronger depending on the recovery you have after, how you eat, how you sleep, and if you go back to the gym. Well, confidence is the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely the same thing. It has to be the way you do power skating to better your stride. You have to have, okay, there's time allocated to enhancing my confidence or my focus and attention, right?
Yeah. I think that's so important is, like creating those habits and that focus and intention to build the confidence.
Absolutely. Learning how to relax, regulate your nervous system, how to focus, enhance concentration, like that's amazing for hockey, but it's also great for school. I've seen it in kids, and like kids who weren't doing that well in school, when they started implementing those habits for hockey, their school grades changed completely because now they're controlling where they put their attention. They decide whether they are concentrated or not. It's not just a matter of, oh, well, what the teacher tell me interest me right now. It doesn't. Okay, I'm not going to listen. They're just like, nah, I need to listen.
Yeah.
That way I won't have to do that much homework. That way I'll have good grades. If I have good grades, mommy and daddy are going to be happy. They're going to trust me more. I'm going to have more freedom. Like, it's a whole thing. So yeah, this is definitely the approach that I suggest and advise. And this is all the services that I offer, is like how to implement all of that in their already very rigorous schedule.
I love that. And do you do that all online, or do you do it in person, or?
I do everything online. The reason for that is I'm from Quebec and I do not like winter. So I will be somewhere warm during the winter, and I travel. So being online allows me to be in an environment that really charges me and allows me to embody what I teach. To me, it makes no sense. If I don't do my meditation, my yoga, if I don't do my own rituals, like how am I going to transfer and really teach any of that? So I live that. I still live as an athlete. It's just not for the same reasons that I used to. Being an athlete for me is, you know, being invested in becoming the best version of myself, essentially. So yeah, I do everything online. That way I can be anywhere in the world. I can always be helpful. I'm just a phone call away, and it works. It works beautifully.
That's great. I love how flexible that is too. It means I feel like you can help way more people that way too, right? You're not restricted to like a home office or something.
And also, like, the truth is, you know, that's where we're also headed as a society. Like everything, you know, you can meet the judge from the court online nowadays. Like it's, and kids are on their phone, like
all the time.
I am helping with that. Like to really have them understand, like, listen, this affects you and you need to start being disciplined about how you use it. But they're on their phone. So like they'll reach out to me. I always stay available between, like, I do coaching programs. Like the program will be, for example, one coaching a month or one per week. And then between the coachings, I'm always available through text to help them integrate and then stay in touch with them. And it's 2025, like that works. The relationship really evolves and develops, even if it's just online. It's really incredible, that technology in some way.
Yeah, that's great. And it's amazing what like meditation and those techniques actually help in so much of your life. And even as an adult and stuff, like with anxiety, social situations, all of that. Like you don't have to just be an athlete to take that into
No,
life. And yeah, it's
that's
definitely,
why I think, parents can invest so heavily in skills coaches and power skating, and that's great, by the way. You need to do that if you want to give
yeah.
yourself a chance to play at the highest level. Power skating won't help you once you don't put on your skates.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're not holding a stick, all the time and money you've invested in learning how to, stick handle a puck is irrelevant after that. But if you invest time and energy and you make it part of, your life to relax, breathe, meditate, that stays with you also forever. And I can only imagine if I would have started meditated at 15.
Yeah.
Meditation would have been like, I would have been in the Himalayas on a mountain right now, being in pure bliss all the time, not working. I'm just kidding.
I love meditation. Like, I literally, during COVID and stuff, I had a meditation app, and I would just like listen to it to fall asleep. Like, I would like half-hour meditation, and then I would zone right out. It was great. So I loved it.
Yeah, I was in India at the beginning of the year. I was 6 weeks in an ashram in the Himalayas, learning
Amazing.
how living the yogi life. It was very, very challenging, but it was also the most peaceful I've been.
Amazing.
It's amazing. Getting up before sunrise, right away, just taking a few breaths, or like landing in meditation. It was great. And learning all these different tools. I really loved it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good for you. I love it.
Yeah. Thank you.
I did have a question. Did you ever get like an agent or an advisor or anything along the way?
Yes. Big topic.
Yeah. You just made big eyes right there for anyone that doesn't have
I did. I can explain those eyes. Yeah. I think agents, it's very clear to me that what agents and family advisors will do is not much, to be quite frank. Unless your kid is a superstar, then he's going to be able to negotiate on your behalf. But unless, and I do have an agency, I do family advising, but it includes the coaching that I do. So I just remember how impressed and how impactful my agent could have been when I was younger. You're 14, you get an agent. Like, anything he would have told me to make me better, like I would have drank his words, like, yeah, I would have done it, anything. So knowing the influence an agent has, I decided to, with two partners of mine, but I'm going to be continuing on my own. I just decided to offer that service. Listen, I will help you navigate the industry of hockey and, create that tailored path and academic path you want to take. But I will also be accompanying you in, emotional intelligence coaching at the same time, because I think it's important. I think it helps with school. And if a player can have better grades, he's giving himself also better opportunities in hockey as well, for sure. Guaranteed. If a team can choose a good student, like if both players have the same talent and one is better in school than the other, they'll go with this guy for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, but to answer your question, for the most part, agents and family advisors are not doing much, to be quite frank. They offer, and some of my friends do that, and I wouldn't say don't go with them. I'm just, don't have too many expectations. They'll come to games, they'll tell you what you could have done, or pretty much give you the same kind of review your coaches give you. And then there's not much that they can do. And also, unless you find one that you really resonate with, that truly helps you, that when you call, he answers, then it could be helpful. But their main role is to harmonize, make it easier and smoother to create your own path, your own hockey journey. Where do you want to play? Where do you want to go? Where can you go? Where will people take you? And what opportunities can you get from that? So I think you can tell that in my own experience, I had agents that, I really liked them when I was playing. And then a few years later, I realized you didn't do nothing for me, nothing. And then you start talking with players, and it's pretty much the case for all players except the superstars, like I said.
Yeah.
So I would tell a parent, do not get stressed over that, and do not get too excited if agents and family advisors come to you. Just relax and choose the one that resonates with you if you have a specific purpose for him.
Yeah. Right? Like if you're looking for one path, one goal kind of thing, but
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Or if you're Or if there's this confusion or question that you want solved or answers to, then you can go to them and maybe work with them.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not trying to diminish their profession. I'm just trying to say, like, don't get too excited as parents.
Yeah.
And,
I get what you're saying.
there's a lot with internet today. There's a lot you can learn by yourself.
Yeah.
But if you can find a good one that really cares for your child, that really actually develops a relationship with him, with you, the parent, that stays in the loop, when you ask him, call the coach and get me this answer, and he actually represents you instead of representing his own interest of not getting into conflict with the team because he doesn't want to be barred from, the network. That's the problem usually. If you can find an agent or a family advisor that actually represents the player, go with them.
Yeah.
And pay the big bucks for them because they're rare. They're very rare.
Well,
I didn't have those.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is there's so many different leagues. And when you start looking at the US too, there's so many initials all over the place. And you're like, what does this even mean?
Mm-hmm.
The ACHA and I don't know. There's so many different ones that it's just, I use ChatGPT now to give me a rundown because the whole
ChatGPT can be your agent now. ChatGPT will write the email. You can just send it to all the teams everywhere.
Essentially.
Yeah,
exactly. Like just like doing research on what the different leagues are, and just because it's
the one thing though that agents and family advisors, the good ones, will do for you is it really helps if you go to a showcase or you go to a training camp anywhere and the organization knows to look at you because your agent or your family advisor talked about you, and they and also guided them to look at his skating, look at his shot, look at this, look at that. That'll make a huge difference if you have an agent who actually does that, because then you don't have to be phenomenal to distinguish yourself. Like, they'll know to look at you, they'll know what to look at, and they'll either agree or disagree, and that'll play a big role in whether they're interested in keeping you or not. Like I said, it might have sounded harsh towards agents and family advisors, but it's not to be neglected what they can do as well. It's just, like I said, find a good one.
And make sure they're advocating for you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. And that's always the issue. Because when you take an agent that you don't pay, what do you think happens? He's not making any money with you. He's only going to make money if he helps in your development and you end up signing pro, and then that's when he gets his cut. So what do? They'll have 100 players, 150 players, 300 players. So how much time are they going to be able to allocate to you when they do that? Whereas if you pay a family advisor and there's a clear definition in the exchange and the services they offer, I think that's a better option, because you know what you're getting and you're paying for it, which will be an incentive for the family advisor to actually take care of you. I don't believe you should have an agent that you don't pay. You can if you want, but it's just, there's no point really.
You're just kind of
until it's like your draft year and you want to know what teams think about you, and maybe he has contacts with teams, so then he can tell them to look at you and then he can give you feedback, then that becomes interesting. But other than that, I think kids should get family advisors who can actually offer them value to the whole family, not just the player, but the parents. I've studied this quite a bit.
That's good though. I like it. I like to know the answers. I'm the sponge now. I'm trying to absorb all the info and ask all the questions. I'm trying to become my own advisor essentially, because if I know the things, I can help pick the path, right?
Of course.
What would you suggest to kids that are undrafted? Because there's so many, right? What would they do now? What if they're still really passionate in hockey and maybe they're just playing on a team because they don't have the money to go to the travel teams or get noticed on the right scale? What would you recommend there?
Play. Just play. Make sure you play. Some kids, I understand very well that there are some clubs, teams that offer better opportunities for, potential in the future. But most of the time, kids get in their own way, or the parents get in their way or their own way, because they think this team is better. It really doesn't matter where you play. If you have the talent, you will be noticed. Make
Mhm.
sure that you play, and every time you get on the ice, you have as much fun as you can, because when you have the most fun is when you play at your best. That's it. And do not focus on making a career out of it, also, is what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what can happen. Treat it as a blessing. Truly, treat it as a blessing that you can put on your skates and play hockey. Be grateful for it. Do not expect anything from hockey. Enjoy hockey. Value hockey. Be grateful for it. Bring your own value to the game. Do not expect anything from it. If there's anything to be gained from it, it'll present itself and you'll just have to receive it. And you can't miss your shot. There's no way. And if you don't have a shot, you weren't meant for it. And I don't say this lightly. I was very close to, the pros. And yeah, I didn't make it. I decided to quit, and I lost the opportunity of a lifetime to go to the Memorial Cup because I quit my team before. And, there's so many players that are so talented. The thing is, it's not only the best players in the world that play in the NHL. There's many players who could play in the NHL that never make it, never have a chance, or others have a chance, but they're not able to stay there. So don't expect anything from hockey. Give it your all, enjoy it, have fun, be grateful for it, is the mindset that I think is going to allow you to have the most opportunities from it.
Yeah. I think there's so much gained for like personal development from playing a team sport. And I always say it.
Yeah.
But like hockey, especially, like it's such a time commitment and dedication from the whole family. It takes a whole family to make a hockey player. It's not a solo thing. Like the whole family
It's a whole community.
Yeah, it really does take a village to raise a hockey player. Like, I mean, I rely all of my family to help get kids to different sports, right? So, or to different rinks at different times, especially when you have two. I know some people that have like 5 out of their 8 children playing hockey, and that's insane.
Let's go.
Yeah, those are the only 5 of age. So I'm sure the other 3 will play too.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it takes a lot to do it, but like you gain so much for your future that it's really enjoying the journey and making sure they still have fun. So I think the fact that you were able to recognize that you were done is still huge too, because you could have kept trying to play for another 10 years and been miserable.
Yeah. And you can't control there's so many things you can't control that it's not worth. I know it's easier said than done, but it's not worth worrying over. I know you would have told me when I was younger, like, don't expect anything from hockey. I would have never listened to that.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that, but it truly, what I'm reflecting is the mindset to have to really give yourself the best chance possible. Just enjoy it and be grateful that you're playing, and that'll create an aura that any team is going to be glad to have you around. And then from there, when the team is glad to have you around and a coach likes you, opportunities are sure to come.
Yeah. I mean, being coachable and positive just makes it like so much easier to be on a team and have people want you on their team. So
100%. And it helps with your performance as well.
Yeah, that's great.
How safe you feel with your coach and within your own team is going to have a huge impact on the way you play. Big time. Yeah. That's
awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm excited to see what you do with the Hockey Mom group too. So I'll post links to socials and your elite group and stuff in the show notes so people know where to find you. But
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us this week on Pucked Up Hockey Moms. We seriously appreciate you listening, laughing, and surviving the hockey mom life right alongside us.
Whether you're in the stands, stuck in carpool, or hiding in the rink bathroom for 5 minutes apiece, we see you and we're right there with you.
This episode was proudly brought to you by AAA Hockey Recruiting, your go-to for player development, showcases, and getting noticed at the next level.
Whether you're aiming for junior, prep, or NCAA, they've got the tools, the know-how, and the hookup. Check them out at AAAHockeyRecruiting.com and tell them the Bad Mom Squad sent you.
Until next time, stay loud, stay proud, and stay a little bit pucked up.